Hey, this is Wileen Benson, and you are on the Daily Gratitude Call, where we start every day in gratitude. Gratitude is the highest energy state that we can be in. It creates a frequency of positive vibration that attracts positive experiences into our lives. Hey everybody, this is Wileen Benson, and this is our Daily Gratitude Call. Appreciate you being on the call today. We have several people here live, and also I want to welcome you, and I also want to welcome those who are listening on the podcast. I'm really excited for what we get to discover today. We have just some amazing people that bring their intuition and their experience, their knowledge to the table when we start our gratitude call every morning. And I'm just love being taught. I love the synergy of everything being brought together, the perfect people being here on the call live to create this. And Laura mentioned something about the gap, that God fills the gap. We're constantly in different gaps. Every time we step up to, try to create something new, we're in a gap. We don't really know it's like we're in this space where nothing exists and everything exists at the same time. And so I thought it would be kind of fun just to see what happens, what comes up if we focus on that word, gap. Great gratitude for the gap, and just see what we get to learn. So I'm going to set the timer for 90 seconds. And just for a private silent meditation on gratitude for the gap, and we'll see what comes up. So that 90 seconds begins now. All right. A couple things were mentioned before we started the recording when we were doing our rounds of gratitude. Deepti mentioned something about closed doors protecting from what's not meant for her or something. I know that's not exactly what she shared, but that was kind of what I gathered from it. That if we are trying to figure our own journey out, or we have like in our mind of what we think the outcome needs to look like, that we could be just like pounding on this door that's closed, that is not really meant for us. And if we go, if we actually force our way through this door, that it would take a lot longer, or maybe even, take us on a path that was not even meant for us. I know my clients, a lot of times I'll have people say, they're trying to find balance. They have like so many different ideas and, so many different opportunities available to them, and different places that they can invest their money or their time or whatever. It's like, how do you choose? Well, I feel like in that gap, I kind of see myself like in a round room, and there's like all these closed doors, and there's maybe like two doors that are open, that that either one of these choices would be good and they would get me where I want to go the fastest. And maybe those closed doors are not closed forever, but maybe these open doors will help to prepare me for the next step. I know for me specifically, if I can have like an outcome, a vision of an outcome that I want down the road, but I would say never do I jump from the gap to that vision. There's lots of little steps along the way and different things that maybe don't feel like they're actually taking me there, but they're taking me through an experience that is preparing me to be able to arrive there. And it never, here's another never, it never looks like I thought it was going to look like. It's always better. It's always like, wow, I can look back on my path now and I can see exactly how everything was orchestrated for my favor and so that it worked out the absolute best. And if I can just walk through those open doors instead of pounding my way through the ones that are closed, I just feel like there's such ease in our path when we do it that way. Who else has something they would like to share?
So I was talking to, in a book called The Energy Centers by Sue Moore, she talks about, maybe I already talked about this, but she talks about how we've thought about it as interference. You know, like when we go to a chiropractor, her father was a chiropractor and she's a chiropractor. How we think of it as interference, but really, she said it's just a gap in one or more of our energy centers. And then I was on the call with Laura last night. She asked where to just think of where the energy is, and I realized that it, for me, when I feel stuck energy, it's like at the back bottom part of my bum usually. And she said that's lots of people have messed up root chakras, and whether that's from, you know, true trauma or perceived trauma or whatever it is. And I just think it's interesting that that is the case, and that's an opportunity for us to explore and identify and heal, and that Christ is always there waiting for us to fill that gap.
Beautiful. Thank you. I just had a thought, you know, and I don't know what the physiology of how this works, but when you were talking about chiropractor and that there's like a gap between something, it could be like a block, like a limiting belief, or, you know, some sort of just something that is blocking a like synapses or nerves, you know, to be able to talk to each other, like neuro, whatever. Like I said, I don't know the physiology or the names of anything, but I can totally see how if there's a disconnect, whether there has been a separation created, like if, you know, if there's been sort of like an injury physically or an injury emotionally or spiritually or whatever that has created a gap where there's a separation of spirit and body, that those synapses and, you know, neurons aren't able to communicate with each other as well. And the same thing if we put up a block so that something can't, like close a door on something, that we actually close the door and say, I'm never going to whatever again, because of an experience that we had or something that we, you know, create a limiting belief about something, then no longer can that communication happen. And how much more free flowing our lives can be if we have connection and if we break down those walls of disconnect that allow, you know, things to just flow so much easier. Thanks, Terry. Let's go Deepti and then Laura.
So what came to me was like I think every one of us has played chess, and the checkers board came in my mind. And every square, every move, we think of playing checkers, and we hop from one square to another to get to the certain endpoint and win. But every square comes with multiple options for our next move, and every decision we make is a square that will, bring us closer to the certain outcome we are wanting. And if we are always playing on the left side of the checkers board, and we constantly keep playing on the right side, then your path towards your end goal will take longer. Like, you're supposed to play on the right, but you keep playing on the left, taking the wrong decisions or knocking on those closed doors. Your desire is inevitably going to take longer.
Beautiful. Thank
And
you.
something like that. I know I was a little, I hope everyone understood what I was trying to say.
Yes, I think that's a really great analogy. And even adding to that, if you're playing against your opponent, it's a game. It's not like that your opponent is the enemy. It's a game and it's for fun. And, you both are working towards winning, of course. And the multiple options, like you're talking about, if I make this move, then my opponent gets to make a move based on that move that I made. And
exactly. So if you make a good choice, he's going to think of a better choice, and then we can all work together to
exactly.
becoming the best version of ourselves.
Yes. And if you play with an opponent, a worthy opponent, somebody that is equally as skilled as you, it actually, you step up your game. If I'm playing with a 5-year-old child, I might play differently than if I'm playing with a chess master. And so, I love that. And then the multiple options always that are available based on what other people do, even that creates even new options that we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. So we probably pick our choices based on our limiting beliefs, and that makes us do the wrong moves and takes us longer to reach our path until we shift our focus and start taking other routes on new choices. That is going to close that gap.
Awesome. Yeah. Also, I've played when I wasn't, I'm still not super skilled at chess, but when I was really not skilled at chess, I would have in my mind where I wanted to go. And I would force that, try to force that path, even after my opponent would make different moves that, would maybe make that foolish. I would still want to force that. It's like, oh, this was such a great idea though.
Because we are not adaptable to change, and we think we are not protected. We think if we change, like if there's change in the circumstances, or there are some lifestyle changes, or other different stages of our life, we are just not adaptable to change, and we just feel insecure to go into unknown, and we feel we are not protected. But there can be good chances that so obviously God has a better order and plan for us than our stupid small minds can ever think.
Awesome. Thank you. Adaptability does bring security. Thank you. Laura, and then Melinda.
So that was all totally awesome, but about the games, I wanted to say something else about the chiropractor and the gaps, because the gaps are necessary. Like, you have to have gaps, and the blockages come when we fill the gaps with crap. So, if we don't allow space in our lives and we fill up everything with busy, thought, feeling, do, then it creates incredible imbalance. I mean, look around the room that you're in right now. Your mind automatically focuses on the objects, but actually there's far more space than there are objects, right? And so, I mean, that's where the magic happens. That's where peace is. Peace is in the gaps, and it's just so incredibly powerful. And the other thing about it is that the gaps between what I wrote was that the gap helps me realize that I am expanded awareness. Like, I am more than I think and feel. I'm more than the object that I am, the objects in my life, more than I can perceive. And that's because when I see the gap filled by God, and that and by others and by everything that is around me, it's like I am more because I'm connected to them, right? It's,
Mhm.
I'm just a little hand waving over here, or a little finger, or, an armpit, I don't know, on the body of Christ, right? But when we're all together, we're the body. And then I realized something really amazing about this with the gap. It's that God has so graciously given me life and given me the gift of being one with Him. Even with all my stuff, He's willing to be
Mhm.
one with me.
Wow.
And I need to be willing to be one with others, even people I disagree with, right?
Mhm.
Or that I find threatening.
Mhm. It's
If He is
totally true.
willing,
That's what he invites us to do.
yeah.
I love
And I mean,
that.
we know these things, but then it's just like realizing it on a deeper level. And that is the willingness to be gentle, where gentleness is the decision to let God deal with other people and with myself.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So, yeah,
I love that.
the
Thank
gap
you.
is everything and it's nothing, right? We know
Mhm.
that, but it's everything, but it's nothing. Remember the movie that we watched together, I Heart Heartbeat?
Yes.
What's in the gap? Nothing, everything, nothing, everything. They're saying it at the same time.
I love it. Thank you. Let's see, go Melinda and then Kathy and then Phil.
So when I was doing my 90 seconds, I was reminded of something DT mentioned about looking within ourselves and uncovering the shadow areas inside ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
which would be those gaps and inside our bodies, and how our
Mm-hmm.
energies will go through these cleansing cycles. And as we're processing through and doing the work to improve and like to close the gap, these shadows will become uncovered. And so then that gives us this choice and accountability moment of taking responsibility and allowing an even stronger connection with ourselves and with others, and using Christ as that bridge. We have that moment of, okay, do I want to look at this, or do I just want to have the same patterns that I've always had? And so for me, that kind of came up yesterday in my life, I guess, preparing for this call. But
Mm-hmm.
when you think about the heart is the bridge and Christ is the bridge, it makes me think about how mothers are the hearts of the home. So mothers, in a sense, that's another connection that we have, or likeness of Christ, like we're the bridge of the home.
Wow. Wow.
And
So
it's like,
profound.
yeah, and when things come up for us as we're processing through, like everyone starts processing through, which is what I really felt yesterday.
Mm.
And so just so grateful for, like, okay, breathe, this is just old patterns, and if we take responsibility, tomorrow's a new improved day that we get to look at what those wonderful things can be that come next, like you talked about, that we don't even, they come so much more profound than we even can think of.
Wow, beautiful. Such wisdom in what you're saying, Melinda. I want to just create a bridge a little bit from what Laura said and what you said, that new awareness that I have now. Laura was saying about how God chooses to be one with us, even with all of our crap. He is willing, to be one with us. And what you're saying about the gaps that we have within ourselves, the reason I'm seeing why and how God can choose to be one with us, even with all of our stuff that we have, is because He is enough. He is full. He is whole. He has everything. And so it doesn't deplete Him or take away from Him at all to be one with us, because He is whole and complete in Himself. And I feel like that is the key to us being one with others, as Laura has suggested. Being one with others is to know that within ourselves that I am whole, I am complete. Like I can be one with this person because it doesn't take away from who I am, because I'm whole and complete because I'm one with God. And I've allowed him, to fill in those gaps for me. So that was just a huge aha for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. Kathy, and then Phil.
So what was really coming up for me is that the goal is on the other side of like a big chasm. So it's a gap between where I am and where I want to be. So if this goal is it may be so deep and so wide that we need to build a bridge, and that Christ helps us build that bridge. It may be a little jump, or just stepping over a string, like we've talked about before. Some of the goals that are in the, like even just getting the laundry done yesterday, there was procrastination, there was distraction, but I finally got it done, and it felt good to have that job done. Everything folded and put away. There's probably some analogies in there as well, but there may be some things that are real or imagined problems and difficulties that keep us from where we want to go, but always, if we turn to Christ, he truly does help us to see what's needed, and he builds that bridge that makes up the difference from where we are and where we want to be. So we really can get to where we really want to be. And that greatest desire that we have is to be like him so that we can be with him. So perhaps if the greatest goal is to get through this life and get to the other side and see all of the help that we've had along the way and the bridges that have been built to get us where we really want to be, just keeping our eye on that golden golden path, I guess,
Yeah, awesome.
holding to the rod, and just really, there's a lot of other things, like you said, all of the other doors that could be open, and some of them are distractions and some of them really are truly the path that we need to take. But just seeing how we can just get to that other side of where we really want to be, and the bridge that's being built for us and with
Beautiful.
us.
I love that. And as you were talking about that, I actually saw, like envisioned that in my mind of being on one side of a chasm and then seeing the other side of the chasm, that's where I want to be. And I realized that the only place that I can really see the gap is if I'm not in it. If I'm on the other side looking across, it's like, oh, this gap is so big, and I'm focused on the gap. Whereas if I can embrace this idea that the bridge is being built and I'm just like taking a step, one step at a time, I'm not in the gap, I'm on the bridge. And so there's like no gap when I'm in the gap. I only can see the other side or the place where I came from. If I'm looking beyond where I'm at right now. So if I can be present in the gap and just hold on to, eyes on Christ, having my eyes on the bridge that's being built by every little step, one step at a time, I feel like, there's less fear than just standing on the other side, looking at the vision of where I want to be and seeing how big the gap is. It just feels less scary, I think, to actually be in the gap, especially if you have that perception that you're on the bridge. Thank you.
I think another element of it is that we really have to always give up that feeling of I'm not worthy, because so many people just won't even try if they just think I'll never make it. And so I think it's just really important that we always remember that we are worthy and take every step that's needed in the right direction.
Yeah, I love that. The movie Indiana Jones, the Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he's standing on the edge and he looks across and he knows faith is what's going to get him across, and he just takes that step out into nothing, and then the bridge appears. And it's that first step, that just deciding to try, is what puts us in the gap, and then the gap disappears. The bridge appears and the gap disappears. Thanks, everybody. Phil, you had something, and then we'll move on to our permission process.
I did. To get across the gap, we must first have a goal of where, a good idea of where we want to go. And then as we go across the gap, I mean, just to validate what you said, like if we're driving in the dark and we have a goal of getting somewhere, we can only see as far as our headlights will shine. And then we drive to that spot and our headlights shine further. And we drive to that spot and we eventually get to where we're going. But ultimately, we need some kind of an accelerator, some kind of gas or something, that we can use to get where we need to go. And sometimes we need to add accelerant. And then when we quit adding the accelerant, then we coast. And I just, what came to my mind was that the accelerant that we need is called faith.
Mhm.
And it's based in love and a desire to achieve and to overcome. And the decelerant is fear,
Mhm.
which comes naturally to us because we're in a place that's unfamiliar, and it automatically we want to protect ourselves. And so when we pay it, and then fear and love are the two great motivators. But really, if you look at them as like gas, like acceleration and deceleration, then it just gives perspective on, am I decelerating or am I accelerating through the gap? And really the acceleration only comes through love. That's the only way we're really going to move as we act in faith, to go through the unknown. So.
Awesome. I love that. Faith is really what fills the gap, right? That's what builds the bridge. The whole gap is full of faith. There's nothing that we can see. It's evidence of things not seen. That's what faith is. And so that's where faith is. So if we want to embrace faith, if we want to live by faith, we have to live in the gap, because that's the only place that faith exists. Love that. Thanks, everybody. I want to just, those who are here live, there's a lot of really awesome stuff happening in the chat. So make sure that you take some time to read through those. Let's go ahead and take a deep breath. I just want to acknowledge gratitude for all that has been shared, all of the wonderful concepts and ideas from all of you here live on the call, the study and the divine tutoring that you've received in the past that you've brought to the table here today, and also new inspiration that's being built right here, new understanding of the gap and the bridge that's available of faith. And also, as Phil has mentioned, that there needs to be an actual goal, a destination. Otherwise it's like a plank hanging out over an ocean. There's no bridge, it's just a plank if there's no destination. So I invite us to right now be aware of the destination. What is the vision of something that you have been wanting to create and you have felt like it is just out there so far away, and the gap is so large and so wide that you don't know how you're ever going to get across? Let's just get clear with what that destination is right now, and allow divine inspiration to paint that picture for you. If you don't know what your destination is, just allow your mind to be open and your heart to be open to receive the perfect destination for you, what you're prepared to receive right now. Maybe not right now in this moment, because there's some more preparation that needs to happen, some faith that needs to be exhibited. But what is it that you are ready to receive right now, ready to create? And take a moment and really expand the vision of what that destination is, what that goal is. Allow yourself to live in it right now, not seeing it as a faraway goal, but actually seeing it as a completed vision, that you're standing within it right now and looking around and seeing all the physical objects that exist because of this goal being manifested, the people, the experiences, what you're hearing, what you're seeing, what you're feeling, the emotions that exist, having already accomplished this goal or having received this manifested miracle. Just be very open to let that manifestation be created in a physical form right now in your life. And what are the benefits of this? What has this opened the way for now that this has been manifested in your life? What is possible now? Something, a door that had been closed to you in the past because you didn't have this, but now that you have this and you are this, what doors are open to you now? And the ripple effect of those doors being open to you. What is now available to others because you have finished this goal and opened some new doors for yourself? What is now available to others? What is the ripple effect of this goal being completed in your life right now? And just embrace the fullness of this vision, and also be aware of any places where you have forced your will instead of just allowing the vision to unfold to you. And if there are any places where you feel like you are forcing anything, any doors to be opened or any outcomes to be brought into fruition, just allow those to drop away and see what God would replace it with. And what is the limiting belief that might be coming up for you right now? And if you are being aware of a limiting belief, also be aware of the cost of that limiting belief to the outcome that you've just created and the real physical outcome that you've created, because you created it in your imagination. It is real. It is actually a thing right now. But what is the cost of a limiting belief to that? And if you don't like that cost, you can make the choice right now to give yourself permission to choose something different. And if you're ready to choose a new belief, say yes.
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 Awesome. And so let's get 2 or 3 new beliefs that will replace that old limiting belief, will allow your creation to roll forward as easily as possible. What new beliefs will serve you? And final question, what is the one most important thing that you could do today to really embrace these new beliefs, to embrace this vision as if it were real and physically manifested in your life right now? What is the one most important thing to do right now today to take you one step closer across that gap to finishing this goal? In a moment, I'm going to open it up for a couple of shares. I do want to invite anyone, if you're struggling with this at all, seeing your vision or taking that first step into the gap or whatever it is that you're struggling with, I would love to have a conversation with you. All you have to do is just go to askwylene.com and you can schedule a 15-minute call with me. It's a free call and I would love to have that time with you. Askwylene.com. Phil, did you have something you'd like to share?
I did. What came up to me is that there are times when I feel so discouraged. I move, I feel like I'm moving in the right direction, and it just doesn't happen as fast as I want it to happen. Or I don't seem to see evidences that are, that I'm moving or that I'm growing in the way that I've chosen. And when those times come, then the point that I want to make here and what's coming up for me here in this is that is this limiting belief of that it's never going to work. And so I need to change course. I need to go back. I need to go back to where I was. And then I let off the gas and I coast back into some old patterns sometimes. But ultimately, when the goal is there and I'm pushing hard and I become discouraged, then what I'm seeing here is that sometimes I just need to recalibrate, and sometimes backing up is not a bad idea. Sometimes I get so fixed on the goal that I'm trying to force it, like you were saying, that I push past, the gentle guidance that in the bridge. And it's okay to coast back just a little bit and then recalibrate and then move forward again. And just because I feel like this way, sometimes I feel defeated, it's a temporary thing. It's a temporary thing to feel defeated, and that it always ebbs and flows, like it comes and it goes, and it's a vibrational pattern, a back and a forth, pattern that's happening here. And sometimes there's this place that I want to go, and it seems like I'm just not motivated to get there, but that's only temporary. That lack of desire to move forward, sometimes when we coast, that it recalibrates us so that we can build that desire again and refocus on what it is we're trying to create. I don't know if I'm being clear or not, but that's what's
Yeah, I actually got some really great realization, Phil, from what you're saying that I'd like to share, that we're not there until we're there, until we actually arrive in the goal, until it's actually manifested. We're not there yet. So we're going to be in the gap for a while, and to just be comfortable in the gap. Just because we haven't made it there, that discouragement that you're talking about, just because we just have to realize there is no real physical manifestation until there's a real physical manifestation. And so we really have to just keep going and be comfortable in the gap until that happens. So if we're getting discouraged, it basically means like I should be there yet already, or maybe I'm on the wrong path, or it's doubt that creeps in, or fear that creeps in. And as we learned before in this call today, faith is the only thing that exists in the gap. That bridge is a bridge of faith. If we are not in faith, we're not on the bridge. We've either run back to the other side or we're falling in space. And, I just want to go back to the story of Peter on the water. He didn't start sinking. He didn't fall off the bridge until he took his eyes off Christ and saw the wind around him. As long as he had his eyes on Christ, he was walking on the water. And that meant that he was in faith, because that was the bridge that was holding him up until he actually reached his destination.
I think also that we focus on the end result. Mm-hmm. And the end result is becoming. I mean, mm-hmm. That's in the path, in the faith, as we move, we are becoming, and it's exactly where we should be. Beautiful. Exactly. We are exactly where we should be at any given moment. And as long as we are striving to, to reach the goals we've set. As long as we're striving to move into an area that's unknown for us, then we are becoming. That is the goal. That is the real. So anyway, I want to.
No, that's totally perfect. And as long as we're becoming, we are on the bridge. We're in faith. We're in the gap, and we're totally sustained. Thank you. Lara, thank you.
So, what your all's discussion reminds me of two things. Like the analogy I heard decades ago that just so helped me. And Phil, it's part of what you were saying earlier about the headlights. If you're on your way from Phoenix to San Diego, you go down I-10. You just stay on I-10 for most of the way. Okay, so you're in Phoenix, it's hot, it's a desert. You want to get to San Diego where there's a beautiful ocean, it's just fabulous, the weather's perfect. On your way to San Diego, you go through Death Valley. Okay? So there's this just sand, and suddenly it's 130 degrees, like not even joking. And you're like, wow, I really hope I don't break down here. There's not a lot of gas stations, at least last time I was on the road. There's not a lot of anything, a couple of windmills in the distance and some very barren landscape. And, if you didn't have that map, you might be really, really worried that you are not actually going to make it to San Diego. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But we know that the map works. We know we can have faith in the map. And so what is our map? What is our map in our striving and in our reaching our goals? Well, Wileen, the 7 gateways.
Mm-hmm.
The 7 gateways is the map. It's our map to a life of integrity, or to integrity in life and business,
Mm-hmm.
And going through those gateways, faith is a gateway. Abundance, accepting the abundance. And then this segues perfectly into what I was actually originally going to say, which is that when you were leading us through that visualization, I realized that, you're talking about going through the right door. I'm like, I spend part of my life with my hand pressed up against the door so it won't open.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, I was just laughing. I'm like, yep, that's what I'm trying to stop doing. It's like, Jesus is trying to open that door for me. And I'm like, no, don't open that one, And I'm like, no, but he's like, no, but that's a really good door. I'm like, yeah, but no. So it goes together, and yes, that's what I wanted to share.
I love it. Well, thank you all for everything that you shared. And Lara, you're absolutely right. The 7 gateways, my book, The 7 Gateways, it is the 7 gateways. It's your map to integrity in life and business. And if you read that book, you will totally see how it leads you step by step. And I am actually creating a masterclass for this month on the 7 gateways. So be sure that you continue watching the Facebook group. I'll be posting, some information about that for a little bit later this month. Well, thank you all. We've had an extra long call today, but it has been totally amazing. I hope that you'll go back and listen again and share this one with anybody who feels like they are wanting to kind of leap that gap and don't really know how to do it. This is how to do it. So thanks, everybody. Love you guys. We will be back together tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time. And have an awesome day. Thank you.
Love you. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, thanks so much for listening. And I encourage you to tune in every day to the Daily Gratitude Call. And the Daily Gratitude Call happens live every weekday morning. We'd love to have you join. So to find out how to join live, go to my website, WileenBenson.com. Thanks for tuning in.